Performance 3 delivers faster, safer, cleaner. And the benefit of faster and cleaner is they make your company more profitable. The equipment upgrade in this video is all about profit. This can literally save you tens of thousands of dollars per year. Now, during the 10-year lifespan of the average industrial blast pot, $500,000 worth of abrasives pass through the metering valve. So optimizing its flow is paramount. The abrasive metering valve on the bottom of your pot is perhaps the most undervalued component on any job site, yet its overall contribution to your profitability is immense. Simply put, if your metering valve is open too wide, you consume too much abrasive, and in doing so will have to refill the pot sooner. This single scenario increases abrasive costs, increases labor cleanup and disposal costs, and lowers productivity. We'll deep dive into these costs in just a few minutes, but too much abrasive can also create a dustier environment, compromising the visual field of the blaster, which is both dangerous and further slows productivity. So many costly issues can be avoided by simply installing a superior metering valve. So what makes one metering valve any better than another? One metric. Which valve saves you the most money? And this savings should be evaluated on the following 4 criteria: abrasive costs, labor costs, repair costs, downtime costs. The problem is most contractors simply look to see which valve is going to save them the most money at the time of purchase. And saving a few $100 on the front end seems like a no-brainer, but that is a huge mistake. Now, before exploring each of these categories, let's cut to the chase and recommend you install a TeraValve XL metering valve on all your blast pots. The only exception to this recommendation are high-flow jobs that use multiple number 10 nozzles or a blast room scenario using robot. For those scenarios, we recommend the Thompson 2 valve. But for everyone else, your best bet is the TeraValve. We found the Axiom Schmidt TeraValve is able to fine-tune a perfect mix of air and abrasive. This is the precision metering you're looking for. If you're not using a TeraValve, you're wasting a lot of money, possibly tens of thousands each year. And here's where all those profits are being wasted. Abrasive costs. In our decades in the industry, we have consistently found you can save an average of 100 pounds of abrasive per hour by using a genuine Schmidt TeraValve. Using common valves is basically adding 2 bags of abrasive each hour and throwing them in the trash. Wasting 100 pounds of abrasive per hour equates to roughly $15,000 of unnecessary media each year. And typically, you're throwing away the $15,000 in order to save $500 on the front-end purchase of the valve. Labor costs. Consuming too much abrasive results in another inefficiency that may seem quite small to most contractors. But remember, the underlying strategy of Performance 3 is to correct many small inefficiencies that in turn results in an asymmetrical boost to productivity. The small inefficiency we're talking about is the need for your crew to refill the blast pot due to accelerated media consumption. Typically, these pot refills are accompanied by cigarette or other convenience breaks, and all told, each break usually results in 15 to 20 minutes of unproductive downtime. The more frequent these refills, the less surface prep is accomplished. Now, all things being equal, a standard 6.5 pot with a TeraValve will last 50% longer than the same setup with a combo micro valve. Another labor cost typically not appreciated or accounted for is the time and costs required to clean up and dispose of the extra 800 plus pounds per day of wasted abrasive. And yet a third labor cost results from slower blasting caused by impaired vision created by nuisance dust from using excess abrasive. Repair costs always affect your overall profitability. Repairing or replacing your metering valves is a reality blasting companies cannot avoid. Here is what can be expected. Inlet-outlet valves, about $2,000 per year. Knockoff Thompson valves, $1,500 per year. Schmidt Thompson valves, about $800 per year. TeraValve XL, $500 per year. Your ROI in buying this valve is less than 3 months in repair parts alone. Downtime costs. We have installed TeraValves on our entire rental fleet because our in-house repair techs have verified that they last 2 times longer than a Schmidt Thompson valve and up to 5 times longer than standard low-cost valves before needing to be rebuilt. Here's what our repair technicians report. Inlet-outlet valves, not uncommon to rebuild every 1 month. That's 12 times per year. Knockoff Thompson valves, not uncommon to rebuild every 2 months. That's 6 times per year. Thompson valve, not uncommon to rebuild every 6 to 8 months, 1 to 2 times a year. Thomson TeraValve, not uncommon to rebuild every 12 months. That's only one time per year. So the question is, what is the cost of shutting down your job site because a cheap valve needs repair or replacement? The truth is, you can lose a complete day of production because an upstream priority was to save $500 on the purchase of a metering valve. Now, if all those reasons aren't enough to convince you of the value of the Axiom Schmidt TeraValve, there is one more benefit that makes this Performance 3 recommendation an efficiency superstar. Retrofitting this valve to your current pressure release pot converts it to a pressure hold vessel. Now, this simply means that when the operator releases the dead man to stop blasting, airflow and abrasive cease traveling down the blast hose while the blast pot remains fully pressurized. Retaining pot pressure reduces the amount of time needed to restart blasting, which again may seem like a minor inefficiency, but collectively, improving these small inefficiencies is what allows the Performance 3 strategy to increase productivity up to 900%. Alongside eliminating the time to repressurize your pot, the greater efficiency of a pressure hold system is the reduction of abrasive getting trapped in the hose while the pot depressurizes. During depressurization, abrasive continues to fill the blast hose, and on startup, while the flow and pressure slowly build in the hose, this abrasive expels under low velocity toward no useful blasting purpose, just waste. So, besides the 100 pounds of abrasive you are wasting per hour by metering with a cheap valve, you are also losing a boatload of abrasive by constantly depressurizing and repressurizing your pot each time the blaster starts and stops.
I went to a job site that was using knockoff Thomson valves. We got two identical nozzles dialed in. One we had to dial into 4 turns, and another we had to dial into 2 turns to get the exact same amount of abrasive coming out. It's very common that we find non-genuine valves in the field that are not made to the same high level of quality as Schmidt makes them, operating differently. And so when we think we've got all the guys tuned in just perfectly, 4 turns each, we're actually using way too much on one and maybe not even enough on another. On average, we say that a TeraValve will save you at least 100 pounds per hour. So if you can use 100 pounds less of a cheap abrasive at 10 cents a pound delivered, that's $10 an hour. That doesn't sound like a lot, but $10 an hour times 7 hours of blasting per day, that's $70 a day, times 5 days a week, that's $350 a week, times 4 weeks is $1,400 per month. The cost of a valve is a lot less than $1,400 per month. So I recommend that you change.
All of this waste is unnecessary. All this waste is costing you valuable profit. And all this waste can be mitigated by simply installing a superior metering valve.